Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So a couple weeks back on our Open Mic Friday, we had a caller call in, a gentleman who asked for my opinion as to whether or not he should make a donation to the Illinois Republican Party. And I said, I can't recommend that you do that in good faith because I don't know what the Illinois Republican Party does. I certainly don't know what it stands for, and I haven't for a long time. Preceding our next guest. As I wrote earlier this week in my piece about Mike Madigan's sentencing for JohnCastNews.com, which happens today, for 3 decades, as far as I could tell, the Illinois Republican Party focused its identity as not Mike Madigan. And it was, Mike Madigan's the problem. If you send him away and we stay, things will get bettered. Always an odd thing to me is defending yourself in the negative. As I've said many times, it's like somebody asks you what your kid does for a living and you say he's not a drug dealer. That's an odd way to respond to a question of like, who are you or what are you about? And that's the way that we've done it. And then Mike Madigan goes away and there's barely a whimper and nobody can figure out how to capitalize on anything, even though the other side hung George Ryan around the necks of Republicans for the better part of 4 or 5 election cycles. So there's a level of incompetence, there's a level of cowardice, there's a level of visionless. Those are the characteristics of Illinois Republican messaging, establishment messaging for, I don't know, the last 20 years, 25 years or so. And a lot of that is because we had enemies inside the perimeter, as you've seen present themselves over the last several years as Jim Edgar became Jelly Belly's debate sparring partner and is writing letters of calling for leniency on behalf of Mike Madigan for his decades of hard work on behalf of Illinoisans and so on and so forth. And there's no quality control within the party. And this is, again, a long-standing problem that predates our next guest. But because she is the state party chairman now, you have to go to people with titles in the party that have responsibilities ostensibly associated with the titles. And so you say, well, what is going on? What are you doing? Why should we engage? Why should we provide financial support? Why should I run for office? These are all legitimate questions, not just to be put to Kathy Salvi, but to be put to Tony McCumbee in the House and John Curran in the Senate and any statewide candidates that present themselves or aspire to do so. I'll give Kathy Salvi an opportunity to answer that question and tell me if I'm wrong, how I'm wrong. Kathy Salvi, State Party Chair, Illinois Republican Party. Kathy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be on your show. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Amy, for having me here. You know, the last time I was here, I was a candidate for statewide office in 2022, and I thank you for the great opportunity you gave me then. Yeah,
running for Senate. We remember it well. So
we need to later find out who's running for Senate this time around.
So,
right. Well, I can't disagree with you on your open. Okay. Of course, I was one of the people in the last 3 decades who we suffered for, over 40 years under Mike Madigan, and now he's sitting on the threshold of prison. And who do we have? Well, you call him Jelly Belly Pritzker. I think that does a disservice to the great candy that we enjoy.
True. I'm glad I haven't been sued. Yeah, you're right.
So I'd say, what do? He's got his $3.2 billion war chest that he puts behind candidates. And in spite of that, we made some great headway. We laid a good foundation this last, and I'm happy in the 15 minutes I have with you to share with you and your listening audience a little bit about what I've learned about the Illinois Republican Party since I have been its chair 3 months before the turbulent November 2024 election. So anyhow, I agree. It's a tough pull. It's an oxymoron to say Illinois Republican. Many people outside of our state say, who? What? Is there one? And so I'm here to share with your listening audience what we did in the fall of 2024. And I think that's important. We had the first ever robust get out the vote. And what we did was we touched over 2.9 million Illinoisans through digital, text, and mail. We were able to, through our Get Out the Vote program, produce 77,000 mail-in ballots of low-propensity Republican voters and 202,000 low-propensity Republicans to vote early. This was a 35% increase of Republican mail-in early vote turnout, and we outperformed the Democrat and the independent voters in our Get Out the Vote efforts. It was the highest 40-day early vote tally of Republicans in Illinois' history. We outperformed unreliable Democrat voters by a great margin. And what we produced was something also historic. If you'll remember, President Trump in 2016 lost Illinois by a 17-point margin. In 2020, 17-point margin, and we brought him to within single digits in 2024. So even though we're deep blue, we're a little bit more purplish than we were, and we expect to build on that foundation. And this means in a 40-day period before the election, because that's our election cycle, and then the 2 weeks afterward, we not only watched the ballots as they came down and questioned the questionable ballots and kept them from being counted, but we also went out and got our voters registered, informed, and out to the polls. And frankly, mathematically, the party that does a better job over a 40-day election cycle, including Election Day, of protecting the vote and then getting their voters out, just statistically, scientifically, will be the party that is victorious. So, we in the Illinois Republican Party are doing that. And remember, we don't run campaigns or fund campaigns. We support the candidates who get through the primary, and then we provide like yeast in dough. The way I tell people what the Republican Party does is when the bread comes out of the oven that is the winning candidate's campaign, they don't say, "Oh, that was great yeast." They compliment the person who won, the person who was elected. So I ask everybody in your listening audience to become involved in the Illinois Republican Party on your local level. Consider running for office and help us here in Illinois to build the mechanism of the Illinois Republican Party that will generate success for those candidates in all 102 counties.
Well, let's talk about the that building because the implementation, the execution may be the last 40 days, but the construction needs to be a rolling basis 24/7. And so your point is well taken in terms of what the party is responsible to do, that the state party as one organ, what it's responsible to do and what it isn't. And then I think perhaps some explanation of how or if things are being coordinated with different party organs taking on different tasks, so there's some division of labor and some economies of scale that can be achieved with these various programs. But specifically, since you mentioned it, the programs that the party could be doing that would benefit everyone, all the candidates who make it out to the primary, out of the primary to the general election. And I'm talking specifically about one thing you mentioned, which is a vote by mail program, and something else too that should be going on now, it seems to me, particularly when we see what other states have done in terms of cleaning up their voter rolls, places like Florida and Ohio. And we know how long the voter rolls have been unattended to in Illinois, and particularly in Cook and the Collier counties. And it seems to me that this would be an important project for the Illinois Republican Party to undertake, and it's not that difficult to do. It just takes a little bit of legwork, and then you would have the profile to really put a spotlight on problems with the accuracy of voter rolls in Chicagoland, for example.
Perfect, yes, and we are doing that. We have an active election integrity committee, and it has been formed since January of 2023 after the 2022 debacle here in Illinois. And remember, we meet monthly. It's led by one of our very capable state central committeemen, Mark Hosty, and we have a great team of professionals who are volunteers. They're the thoroughbreds.
So what has been accomplished in 2 years by that committee?
We have identified a boatload of voters that are not to be counted on the voters' rolls, and we have committees in every county that are formed to go to the election authorities and show them the data and have those voter rolls cleaned.
How much is a boatload?
We have 102 counties. Cook is one of, actually, the Chicago Board of Elections has been very cooperative with our team in looking at the names that we have and cross-checking them within their system. And we are, along with Judicial Watch, who filed a lawsuit a couple of years ago, and then we were able to get election data through our Illinois Board of Elections, and then use that election data and compare it with the National Voter Right Change Address file, which is a national database.
Yeah, NCOA.
To identify where those voters are double registered, and then provide that information to the local election authority so that those names can be removed. This is an ongoing process. It's a weekly.
So how many names have been identified and or removed?
Hundreds of thousands throughout the state. I want to say in Cook County about 800,000. And so if you're asking me right now, and up to date, we have taken many names off the rolls. We've identified many others that need to be taken off the rolls. And I think the principal job of the party is to make sure that our elections are run honestly here in Illinois, and to see that no person is allowed to double vote, and those names that are identified as being have moved or died have to be taken off the rolls. And so our team, our election integrity team, identifies by going to the obituaries which people are no longer able to vote. In fact, we're at a point where we've identified people who are over 300 years old who are identified as voting in this last election. So we kind of think it's tongue-in-cheek. But to your point, taking those voters off the rolls is the responsibility to the local election authority, whether in Cook or DuPage or Kane or Alexander County. So and we are at that job day in and day in night. So
two big programs that the state party is doing and has been doing, you're saying the vote by mail program you did in 2024 and that you're going to build upon in 2026 as a look ahead, and this cleaning up of the voter roll. So those are two big things that you're fully engaged in that will provide benefit for Republican candidates up and down the ballot in 26. That's what you're saying.
And identifying through the local parties our voters. You know, if you imagine the 11,000 plus precincts in the state of Illinois, I ask your listeners what they can do, what you can do. The easiest thing in the world, of course, is to write a check and then to entrust somebody else to spend it well. Because, of course, this institution, it requires a lot of volunteer man and woman hours. And we are at our work around the clock. And that's the easiest way to support the Illinois Republican Party. But I ask you, what's more important is get involved. I ask your listening audience to go to the Illinois Republican website and sign up for my newsletter. It comes out every Friday. And if you want to know what's going on around the state or in your area, you'll see not only the newsletter, which gives you up-to-date information, but you'll see activities in your local area. In addition to that, I encourage all listeners to go to the White House website. President Trump asks us to be of one voice. And I don't care if you're upset at this or you're upset at that. Find out what's happening on a daily basis, and look and become informed so that at your dinner table you're able to talk about the great initiatives that the Trump administration is bringing about. And I think this will help build the momentum that we need in Illinois. And I'm glad to be on your show, Dan, because the best way to inform your listening audience about what the Illinois Republican Party does is to inform. And so I, like many people, wondered where was the party when I ran in 2022? Where was it? Where was it? Was it behind me? And I learned that the party doesn't run campaigns or fund campaigns. That's up to a very capably run campaign. But what the party does is it provides that mechanism to help campaigns be successful. And I'm proud that in every race in Illinois, no incumbent lost in November of 2024. Everyone won, and by thin margins. And that was because of the many eyes that we had on the ballots as they came in that 2 weeks afterwards. And so while we didn't add any state house or Senate, seats. We have great opportunity in the coming, and we didn't have any statewide.
Well, let's talk about that. Okay, so are there any rising Republican candidates in Illinois that we should keep an eye on? Are you planning on helping, like, who's going to be our gubernatorial candidate, U.S. Senate, mayoral?
She's not getting involved in primaries.
See, we think it's the people, the individual people, come out of their own areas and they rise up to take on these wonderful posts. And it's the Illinois Republican Party that will support vigorously.
Okay, well, what names are you hearing? I mean, you can't be completely out of the process. I mean,
well, I'm not. We don't recruit candidates. The Illinois Republican Party doesn't recruit candidates like the Democrats. They slate candidates and then they back them, and they have to hold the line to the Marxist leftist policies that party adheres to. But in the Illinois Republican Party, we support the candidates who the people support. Those that come through whatever county, whatever. We have on August 5th, the people who are going to be running will have an opportunity to get their petitions out and the signatures and then get on the ballot. And there will be, I'm sure, some vigorous primaries, and we will be supporting the victors in those primaries.
There's one other role that, in my view, the state party chairman should perform, and that is being a communication leader for the party. And so my question to you is, what are you doing to put yourself out there to comment on Jelly Belly's testimony before the House Oversight Committee yesterday? And not just putting yourself out there, but also sending the message to the House organ for the Democrats, the Chicago Political Press Corps, that Pat Brady is not a spokesman for our party. He's a Democrat. That Jim Edgar is not a spokesman for our party. He doesn't represent where the party is in 2025. I'm a spokesman for the party. People that support the president's agenda are spokespeople for the party and ambassadors for the party. And people that are doing the bidding of the other side, stop identifying them as people representing our party, or at least have me on to make that public, that these people do not represent. They are Quislings. They are enemies inside the perimeter. They are part of what's wrong with Illinois. I mean, the lack of self-policing and the tolerance of people masquerading as Republicans, serving as representatives of that brand, is really intolerable. And not just to me. I mean, it's an insult to see Pat Brady running around pretending to be a Republican. The same with Jim Edgar these days.
Agreed. 100%. And what I'm doing is, you probably didn't get my press release from yesterday on Jelly Belly and his testimony, but I am everywhere and anywhere I'm asked to be. And as many Republicans have seen, I've traveled all 102 counties. I've appeared at breakfasts. And that's not enough. We need to get to the broader listening audience, is why I'm happy to be here on your show today. But listen, what I'm excited about is what we did in November 2024 and what we're building on in the future. And that's why everybody who, gets my emails or texts and makes any contribution, I can guarantee I'm putting my entire time, talent, and treasure as a full-time volunteer to this post, because I, as you started, wondered, where is the Republican Party? And I'm only one person, but I've got a great team of 102 county chairmen, many chairmen, 17 amazing people who are state central committee members. And in my what I have witnessed is very heroic volunteers at all levels come out and to work to build their parties locally. And that's what your listening audience can do. Get off the couch, stop eating popcorn and watching and condemning, but get involved. And one of your listeners, Elsie Morrissey, who's probably listening right now, she said, Kathy, you need to get on the air with Dan and Amy and tell them all the great things you're doing. And I said, Elsie, I'll do it. I've had other people say the same. Tomorrow, I'll let you know, we'll be in LaSalle County with Larry Smith, and they're having a huge rally there in Utica by Jamie's Outpost. We're going to do a big motorcade and then speeches. And I believe that many people who are on the fence wondering, should I run for this or should I run for that? They'll be making the decision over these summer weeks to get involved and get involved locally and run for Congress, run for state rep, run for the House, because they see that they have a vital and alive party willing to back them and do the work of helping them get across the finish line. So I'm proud of the Illinois Republican Party. I'm proud to be its chair. And let's end this blue funk in Illinois and allow this Republican renaissance.
Kathy Salvi, State Party Chairman, Illinois Republican Party. Kathy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate coming on. Thanks.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Are you okay, Ben?
I'm scared, Arvid.
Why?
Nicole can read my mind.
What?
Hold on. Is this about the Ashton recliner again?
See? I was just thinking about the Ashton recliner at Penny Mustard.
Yes, we were just talking about its